What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fire Sports Takes podcast. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about the last 2 days in college basketball, and I don't know yet. I haven't decided yet. But let's start with Saturday. What a win for Arizona against the Houston Cougars in Houston. A lot of people were trying to sell their stock on this Arizona team. They don't shoot a bunch of threes. They played an easy Big 12 schedule. At the start of conference play, they've kind of dropped a few. They lost two straight. They lost to Texas Tech at home. No Koa Pete. His status is still unknown. But here they come and they out Houston on their own floor. And although the rebounding numbers are pretty equal, it seemed like the timeliness of Arizona's second chance opportunities, offensive rebounds, which is so much more crucial than Houston's. They turned Houston over like 12 times. Houston went 10 minutes without an offensive field goal in the second half of that game. Unreal display by Arizona, and their big men. Krivas was all over the place. And dude, the senior, oh my gosh, his name, Anthony Delorso off the bench was just a real pain in my ass. I said Houston was going to win because of the guard play, and I thought Flemings, who got into foul trouble early, Sharp, who was awful today, 2 for 11 from the field, 2 for 8 from three, literally just hucking. And then Uzan was, I feel like he was quiet. He was pedestrian. He was nowhere to be seen in the Kingston Fleming minutes. He was struggling to get shots off, and I underrated how good defensively Braden Burries, Jaden Bradley, and Anthony Delorso off the bench having a ridiculous performance for this Arizona team. And that's the guy I overlooked. That's where I was wrong in my assessment. And I underrated just how much bigger this Arizona team was than Houston. And that was the problem. But yeah, what a win for Arizona on the road. A lot of people were selling their stock on Arizona a little bit. They don't shoot enough threes. Koa Pete's injury. Who knows what they're going to look like against good competition. They lost at home to Texas Tech. Here they come in Houston. They turn Houston over a shit ton. They get timely offensive rebounds. They hold Houston to under 40% from the field. They held Houston in the second half of this game scoreless from the field for like 10 minutes. And Anthony Delorso off the bench was the difference. He had like 15 in the first half, and the guard play was going to be huge in this game, but it didn't come from Burries. It didn't come from Jaden Bradley. Well, it did, but it really came from Anthony Delorso, who could be huge for this Arizona Wildcats team down the stretch if he plays the way he did, not only scoring the basketball, but defensively against Kingston Flemings, against Milos Uzan, against Emmanuel Sharp, who all didn't have their best days from the field. Flemings got in foul trouble early, but what a win for Arizona. Physical, high motor, good defensive basketball, weren't phased by the moment, came out and blitzed Houston off the rip, jumped out to like a 9-2 lead, and then never trailed from that point on. What a win for Arizona. Statement win. You got to be real happy if you're a Wildcats fan without Koa Pete picking up this W on the road. Huge win. As far as Houston's concerned, I'm not worried about them one bit. I think they're still one of the best teams in the country. They came out a little sluggish here, man. And Emmanuel Sharp and Milos Uzan, they were getting locked up, man. Kingston Fleming is still going to get his, and Sharp got to the line a good amount. I'm pretty sure. Let me see. Yeah, it was 8 for 9 from the line. It's just Milos Uzan was uninspiring. Kingston Flemings was decent. He still needs to get his stroke from beyond the arc, but not the greatest performance out of the guards from Houston, and that's what I thought the difference would be in this game. And Jaden Bradley, just timely buckets, and the turnover margin. What was the total numbers? 12 turnovers for Houston to 5 from Arizona. That was ultimately the difference in this game. And then the rebounding. I'm pretty sure the rebounding was pretty even. 39 to 37, 12 offensive rebounds for Arizona, 13 offensive rebounds for Houston. But like I said earlier, it felt like the timeliness of Arizona's offensive boards were just sucked the life out of Houston, and Houston couldn't get into their half-court offense, which they've been really good at so far this season, but they just couldn't do it today at home. What a win for Arizona, and the Big 12 is just an absolute gauntlet. Another team that I want to talk about is Miami. They lost to Virginia, but they were tied with Virginia with like 3 seconds to go. I forget who they fouled on Virginia. With like three, they fouled him when he was shooting a three. He hits his 3 free throws, and that was it. Who was it? I think it was Chance Mallory. This Miami team, led by first-year head coach, I'm forgetting his name, but he was assistant under John Shire at Duke. This Miami team doesn't turn the ball over. They don't foul a lot. They play good defense. They rebound well. They're a very well-coached basketball team, and Trey Donaldson is a guy that could really turn some heads really be one of those guards that just takes over March because of his ability to score the basketball, pass the basketball, control the rock, doesn't turn the ball over, and he has experience. Even though they lost to Virginia here on the road, they lost by 3, and they fouled the kid from Virginia with 3 seconds left. And he was shooting a 3, and that's how they lost the game. So like really impressive loss for Miami here. I think they're a team that I said in the preview episode, they're a team to look out for in March, and we're gonna get a good gauge on them in this game against Virginia. And another team that I said we're gonna get a good gauge on is UCLA, and they play later tonight with Mitch Cronin and Donovan Den and company. Tennessee, man. You can't say enough about the Tennessee Volunteers and Nate Amen down the stretch here. He only had 13 points. It wasn't his best scoring night, but you can see the ceiling with Nate Amen, and it's just unbelievable against Vanderbilt. Timely buckets down the stretch, shot clock winding down, dude in his face. He just rises up and hits the mid-range over him. Jacoby Gillespie is going to be a real problem. And the reason this Tennessee team is such a dangerous team come March is because they rebound extremely well. They play physical defense. They slow teams down, and they might have a top 5 guard in the country in Jacoby Gillespie, and they have one of the most underrated freshmen in the country in Nate Amen, who just, if he's shooting the ball well, you can't stop him. He's 6'10". He's a 3-level scorer. He's a versatile defender, and they rebound the ball really well. They have good size down low. Great win on the road against a really, really solid Vanderbilt team led by Tyler Tanner, who continues to impress down the stretch here. But where is the help coming from with Vanderbilt? Where is the help? Like McDongle or whatever his name is, McLaughlin is a decent player, but where's Tyler Tanner's help in the crunch time against teams like Tennessee? It was nowhere to be seen. But Tennessee's a really dangerous team down the stretch, really big physical team with 2 elite scorers in Nate Amen and Jacoby Gillespie. He's more than just an elite scorer. He can do a little bit of everything. Dog, great win for Tennessee, and they should be back in the top 25 easily, and Vanderbilt should drop out of it now. But I still think Vanderbilt's a good team. Like, I trust Tennessee to go on a run more than Vanderbilt because they have better guard play in Jacoby Gillespie, but Vanderbilt's a team not to overlook either. What a win for Tennessee. I'll stop it here. This is still before Duke. This is still before Illinois. Villanova's playing right now. There's a bunch of games to still talk about, but I'll stop right here, and then we'll get it going later. So I'll swing it to myself after the Duke game. All right, I don't think I should ever place a bet on anything ever again, man. I just got eviscerated. Illinois is still alive. Okay, Illinois is still alive, but I took Houston first half L. Houston to cover the spread L. Duke to cover the spread L. Or Michigan to cover the spread L. Michigan first half L. Michigan halftime full time L. That's 0-5 in the span of 3 hours. Fuck. Damn it. Gotta lock in here. But I mean, what a win for the Duke Blue Devils, man. And honestly, part of it's luck. Who knew that Cadeau was going to go 0 for 7 from the field before he hit that 3 with like a minute 30 to go? He also got into injury trouble. He also got injured and missed the last like 8 minutes of the first half. That definitely screwed over the Michigan first half bet. It's just, it's so frustrating. Their big man got into foul trouble early, but then you can't even flip it. You can't even use that argument because on the other side of that, Cam Boozer was out for like the last, I don't know, from the 12-minute mark, 11-minute mark to like after the last media timeout because he had 4 fouls, and he was so huge for Duke down the stretch. Michigan, I don't think people understand just how valuable Cam Boozer is to this Duke Blue Devils team. Not only does he lead the team in points, rebounds, assists, steals, he went out of the game against Michigan with like I think 10 minutes to go, didn't come back because he had 4 fouls until there was 4 minutes left in the game after the last media timeout. Michigan got the game to 1. Cam Boozer comes in immediately. He's scoring buckets. He's getting assists. He's making the right play. And even on the last possession of the game for Duke, not counting the Evans dunk, he finds his brother so quickly, and he was able to break the press because he was inbounding the basketball and got the ball to his brother on their side of the court so fast. And when you have a big man that can not only score the way Cam Boozer can score, but can pass the ball, rebound the ball, play defense the way Cam Boozer plays defense, it makes you a legitimate threat. And I think Duke did lock up the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament because their only real tough matchup remaining, if I'm not mistaken, is UNC. And even if they lose that game, they've dominated ACC play. Even the good teams in the ACC, like they beat Virginia Tech, they beat SMU, they beat Louisville. Did they play Miami yet? I think they still might have to play Miami. My computer's not fucking loading. Of course it's not. When I need it to work, it's not loading. So let me just scroll down here. I just want to look at the rest of Duke's schedule because they should have, like, this win was huge for them. They lost some big games they've had earlier in the season in terms of out of conference to Texas Tech. So this is a huge. Where is the fucking game, bro? Why is my computer doing this right now? Right when I hit record, my computer decides to take a fucking dump. I guess I can talk about Kansas here while I just filibuster. Kansas is in shambles, and I think the Darren Peterson outside noise has infiltrated them because it's just you can't drop a game at home to Cincinnati, who Cincinnati, since losing to West Virginia, Hunter Huff went off. They're four straight W's. And if you remember, their coach at Cincinnati went up to the fans. He was like, "I'm frustrated. You have a right to be frustrated. I'm frustrated myself. Blah 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 blah." They've won 4 straight since that moment. Is Cincinnati a team now that has some real momentum? A couple of good wins, a really really good win at Allen Fieldhouse, which is an extremely hard place to play. And this Kansas team that went from beating Arizona on the road a week ago or 2 weeks ago has now gotten blown out by Iowa State. They lost to Cincinnati at home, and all anybody's talking about is not how good Kansas has been this season, but it's DNP Darren Peterson. He had like 1 assist in like his last 80 minutes going into today's game. He had 1 assist in today's game. I think they're letting the outside noise infiltrate what they had going on there in Allen Fieldhouse, and they have the talent in that locker room to be the number 1 team in the country, to win a national championship. But when you have a star player in Darren Peterson who doesn't seem to give a fuck about basketball, it's going to be hard to win a national championship. And what Darren Peterson is doing and has been doing, if it's true, which I mean, at this point, it's hard to say he actually dealt with cramps. He actually had flu-like symptoms. I think he's been load managing. And the Oklahoma State game was a perfect example of that. He got as many points as he needed to raise his draft stock, and then he subbed himself out. And it's like, what he is doing is just disgraceful to college basketball. It's disrespectful to college basketball. Like, it's disrespectful to the players on his team, because not everybody on his team is going to be in the NBA. Like, this is it for most of these players as basketball players, as athletes, as collegiate athletes. And Darren Peterson's just mailing it in, especially on a team that has the talent to win a national championship. If everybody was bought in, and everybody seems to be bought in except Darren Peterson. If I'm Bill Self and this kid is just mailing it in, doesn't want to play for this team, shut him down for the season and just run it with Melvin Council, Flo Badunga. And Flo Badunga plays so much. Flo Badunga with Darren Peterson, without Darren Peterson on the floor, is a completely different player. So if you need to go that far, if you're Bill Self and this guy just doesn't care about winning, doesn't care about Kansas, his eyes are set on the NBA, shut him down. Fuck him. He doesn't care about you. Why should you care about him? You know? And I get he's only 19 and he's 18 years old. He's probably just getting bad advice. Like, it's definitely not, like, I don't know. It's a weird situation. Never seen anything like it. I'm happy I'm not Bill Self. It's a tough situation to navigate because you have this kid who's one of the most skilled college basketball players we have ever seen. And he just doesn't play. And early on, you're like, all right, maybe he's just cramping. But it gets to a point where it's like, all right, maybe he just doesn't want to play. He doesn't care about Kansas basketball. And that's when it's like, what do you do with a guy like that? Like, obviously, he's a good player. You don't want to shut him down. He's probably just getting some bad advice. How do you navigate that situation? Like, I don't want to say they're better without him because they've looked really good with him on the floor. But dropping a game the way that they dropped this game to Cincinnati at home, Bill Self is like a 900% winning percentage at home. And they lose to Cincinnati. It's a tough place to be. It's a tough place for Kansas to be. It really is. Let's see, what did I forget why I was even looking up the Duke score at this point. I forget what I even wanted to do. Oh, I wanted to see their schedule. That's right. But yeah, what a win for the Blue Devils. What a win for Cincinnati now, who can maybe find themselves back on the bubble. Good win for Arkansas. UConn with just a dominant win over Villanova, shutting up all of the haters. Everybody was selling their UConn stock. And I said, they dropped a game against St. John's because they turned the ball over too much. They dropped a game against Creighton because their defense wasn't good enough and they gave up a lot of open threes. But this is the same UConn team that held a Kansas offense to 50. They held an Illinois offense, number 1 ranked offense in the country, to 60. Like, this UConn team is capable of playing elite defense. And people were selling their UConn stock because they won a bunch of close games, and they dropped a game to Creighton because they let up a bunch of threes, and they dropped a game to St. John's because they turned the ball over too much. Both of those things are fixable problems. And you have the best coach in the country. You don't think he's going to fix these problems? And they came out and were elite defensively in the second half against Villanova. And offensively, they're like 70% from the field in the first half. Like, this UConn team's a national championship contender. Anybody that sold their stock and jumped off the bandwagon, stay on that side. UConn is the real deal. They have good play down low. They all pass the ball. They can defend well. Again, they held Illinois to 60 points. That's the best defense, best offense in the country. Okay, like this UConn team is capable of playing elite defense. It's just been really inconsistent. They have a real closer in Solo Ball. They have size. They rebound well. They defend well. They don't turn the ball over too much. The St. John's games excluded, this UConn team is a national championship contender. They just beat the brakes off a Villanova team, especially in the second half. A Villanova team that is a really, really good basketball team. They shoot the three really well. They have a bunch of guys that can score. They have Duke Brennan double-double, walking double-double. Like this UConn team is the real deal. They're a national championship contender. Anybody that sold their UConn stock, you're an idiot. Duke. We're looking at Duke's schedule. Still haven't got there yet. Here we go. Okay, they still have Virginia. So they don't. Miami's just not on their ACC schedule. But that doesn't make sense. Either way, so they have Notre Dame, Virginia, NC State, North Carolina. Okay, so the end of their schedule is pretty hard. But even if they're not going to drop two of those games. Like at home against Carolina, I think that's a win. At home against Virginia, I think that's a win. At NC State, I think that's a win. Like, they should finish out this season. They shouldn't lose another game this season. Notre Dame stinks. They're the number one seed in March Madness. They have to be at this point. What a win. What a win. And they just out-hustled Michigan. It seemed like they played way better defensively. I think I want to put the hand up here. I really, really underrated what Duke can do on the defensive side of the ball because they shut down this Michigan offense, who was 40% from the field. Elliot Cardell was dealing with some injuries, so I do want to cut them a little bit of slack. They're a really physical game, and Duke out-physicaled Michigan. Duke had 13 offensive rebounds to Michigan's 8 offensive rebounds. They were closing out defensive possessions at a pretty good level. They forced 11 turnovers to Michigan's 7. Oh, no, got those numbers mixed up. So they didn't turn the ball over too much. But anyway, they were just forcing bad shots. They weren't allowing anything in the paint. And Cam Boozer's the best player in the country, and he played like it today because he only played 34 minutes. He had 18 points, 10 boards, 7 assists against the number one team in the country. Cam Boozer's the best player in college basketball. And you could see just how valuable he was to this Duke team. When he went out with foul trouble, Michigan was able to cut the lead to 1. Cam Boozer comes back in after the second media timeout. They go on like a 6-1 run or whatever it was, and they close out the game. He's scoring the ball. He's passing the ball. He's finding Evans for open threes. Like he was doing everything after the media timeout. The offense runs through him. He makes the right decision every single offensive possession for the most part. He's a good defender. He's a great rebounder. He's a great passer. Cam Boozer is the best player in the country, and Duke might have the best defense in the country as well. And hand up, I overlooked them on the defensive side of the ball. I did. But Duke's a real problem. They should be the number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. What else do we not talk about? I think I talked about almost everything. Let me just go through the scores real quick. And obviously, Illinois, UCLA is still going on right now. They're our only hope. I took Illinois minus 5.5. They're up by 7 with in the second half just started. They're on pace to smash their team total. And I said on the preview episode, if their total is like 85, take it. It's like 75. They had 50 in the first half. One thing that has not let me down this year, it's the Illinois team total because they have the best offense in the country. Iowa State, BYU, we still have to recap. I think that's pretty much it. So I'll stop the episode now, and then I'll throw it back to myself. Like we talk about Arkansas. I didn't really watch the Arkansas game. Alabama beat LSU. Arkansas beat Mizzou. I talked about Tennessee. St. John's blew out Creighton. Virginia beat Miami, but we talked about it. Florida blew out Ole Miss. Nebraska blew out Penn State. All right, yeah, I think we talked about everything up until this point. So I'll stop it now, and I'll swing it to myself after the Iowa State game. All right, let's talk about BYU, Iowa State a little bit, and then I'll go through my top 10 college basketball teams after Saturday, and then we'll wrap up this episode. And then I'll break down whatever team I want to break down. I haven't decided yet, but either way, this was the most impressive game from AJ DeBansa, and he did score the ball well. I think he had 30 or at least 29. He was scoring the ball really well. He was making all the right reads. He could have had like 4 or 5 more assists in this game as well, but the role players just weren't knocking down threes. Either way, still huge home win for a BYU team that lost Richie Saunders. Didn't really have a statement win inside the Big 12 yet in this season. But where I was most impressed about AJ DeBansa was on the defensive side of the ball. Because all year, my thing with AJ is, how is he impacting the game when his shot's not falling? Well, his shot was falling today, but he was also locking up Momcilovic, who had 5 points. I want to say that's a season low for him. Let me double check that real quick, actually. But either way, huge win for BYU against Iowa State at home. BYU was kind of searching for a statement win like this in their Big 12 schedule. They get it. no Richie Saunders, and I think AJ Debance has elevated his play since Richie Saunders has gone down. It's like, all right, this is my team now. I need to do everything I can, and it's not just been on the offensive side of the ball, even though he has been fantastic offensively. He's a walking bucket. He gets to the line 7 times a game, but defensively in this game, he held Mario Momcilovic, who's shooting 50% from 3, to 5 points. He was face guarding this dude, and Iowa State is a real problem. I think BYU just exposed it. If they're not shooting the ball from beyond the arc, if Momcilovic isn't getting his shots up, he isn't getting his threes up, and he's not making his threes, and if Iowa State just isn't making threes in general, they are very, very vulnerable. I don't want to overblow this loss by Iowa State. Like, road losses get overblown sometimes, but BYU, what a win, what a game for DeBansa, and more than anything, I think DeBansa's draft stock is the highest it's ever been since Richie Saunders has gone down, because not only has Darren Peterson just been load managing in college, ruining college basketball, but AJ DeBance has really picked up not just the scoring, not just his aggressiveness scoring the basketball, but he's really picked things up on the defensive side of the ball, just locking up Momcilovic against Iowa State, the 6th ranked team in the country, carrying BYU to a huge W to boost their stock and like to boost their potential seeding for the NCAA tournament. And then you have a guy like AJ DeBansa, who fucking knows, maybe he can go on a run. So great win for BYU. Now, here are my top 10 teams in the country right now. Number 10. Or here, let me get my list up because I don't remember it off the top of my head. Bear with me for a second. All right, top 10 teams in the country, college basketball. Number 10, I have St. John's. I think St. John's is getting completely underrated because they play in the Big East. They won 13 straight. They beat UConn, and they beat a Creighton team, blew out a Creighton team that beat UConn earlier this week. St. John's is a top 10 team in this country. They're playing some of the best defense in the country as well. They've won 13 straight, and I think people are just overrating or underrating them because they play in a garbage Big East and they beat up on a lot of Big East opposition. But they beat UConn. They beat a Creighton team by 30 that beat UConn earlier this week. They play UConn again. We'll see how they do in that matchup. At number 9, I have Purdue. Purdue's it's a personal thing with me and Purdue. I could just never really get over the hump. But when you do break them down, they have a lot of experience with Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith, that played in national championships. Trey Kaufman-Rem's coming into his own a little bit here down the stretch. They're obviously a dangerous team with a lot of experience, led by one of the best point guards in the country. That's going to be pivotal come March. Iowa State at number 8. I don't want to, this loss on the road to BYU, who has one of the best players in the country in AJ DeBansa, I don't want to blow it out of proportion. But if Mario Momcilovic isn't making his shots, if teams are locking up Momcilovic, whereas the three-point shooting's got to come from somewhere else. And I do trust Tamin Lipsey. He's just got that March Madness type of guard feel to him. But the scoring the basketball against a BYU defense that hasn't been great against elite competition is a little bit worrisome. But either way, I think Iowa State plays really good defense. They beat Houston. They beat Kansas. They have some really good wins under their belt as well. I think I saw something. They have the most wins against the top 3 team out of there's only 4 other teams to ever win as many games against top 3. Or no, that was Arizona, not Iowa State. Time out here. That's on me. It was Arizona, Iowa State. Either way, Iowa State at 8, Illinois at 7. I think a lot of people are going to overrate this loss that Illinois had to UCLA. But I think UCLA is a really, really good basketball team. I think they are a really good basketball team. UCLA is one of my favorite sleepers for March for this reason and this reason only. They have so much experience. They have 3 guys on their starting lineup that are shooting over 40% from 3. 2 of them are seniors. One of them is a junior. All upperclassmen. Donovan Dent, upperclassman. Badeau, upperclassman. They have so much experience. They have so much experience with their 2 leading scorers, with Donovan Dent, one of the best guards in the country, 8 assists, 2 turnovers per game, in a field that with a lot of teams that are going to be reliant heavily on freshman play, freshman guard play, freshman production. So that's why I think UCLA is a really, really good team. Donovan Dent, buzzer beater against Illinois, 20-point comeback to save the season for UCLA. Huge. Start the championship DVD if they were there, It's that type of vibe. I think UCLA is a really good team, so I'm not going to knock Illinois that much for losing this game. They have one of the best offenses in the country, the best offense in the country. UConn at 6. UConn shut up a lot of haters today. A lot of haters, blowing out a good Villanova basketball team in the second half. Good defense. All of the problems, I talked about it earlier in the episode, but all of the problems that they had in the games that they dropped were fixable. Turnovers are fixable. Defense is fixable. And they have one of the best defenses in the country. They locked up Illinois, 60 points, Kansas 50. They can play good defense. It's in there. They just need to do it more consistently. They were really good today against Villanova. Number 5, I have Houston. dropping Houston 3 spots from the second best team in the country, losing at home to Arizona in the way that they lost to Arizona. They weren't able to score. They went 10 minutes without a made field goal. That can't happen if you want to be a top 3-4 team in the country. However, I still think I trust these guards, even though Milo Suzan and Emmanuel Sharp had a stinkers today. I still trust these guards come March. I think it was just a really bad shooting day against an underrated defense in Arizona. And I keep forgetting this guy's name, man. The guard that came off the bench for Arizona was phenomenal today. Phenomenal. They don't win the game without him. What a win for Arizona, who I have at number 3. But at number 4, I have Florida. I think Florida is getting completely overlooked. They have some of the best bigs in the country. They have the best bigs in the country. They rebound the basketball at an elite level. They play really good defense. And Xavier Lee starting to hit his threes. Xavier Clavin, however you say his name, Clavican, however you say his name, the European guy, he hit 5 threes today. They're starting to hit their threes. They have the best bigs in the country. And if their guard play has only gotten better, that's the only area of concern. They don't shoot the 3-ball really well. They're starting to hit them. And they have the best guards the best front court in the country. Florida at number 4. I think they're getting completely overlooked. They've dominated the SEC, and they lost those out-of-conference games close early on in the season because they didn't have a closer. Are we going to see someone emerge as a closer, be the Walter Clayton this year? It's a tough ask, but I think this roster all around is better where they don't need somebody to carry the load in the stretch the way Walter Clayton did. But they need somebody that they can go to in the stretch, whether it's Hawk, whether it's Xavier Lee, whether it's Boogie Fland, whether it's Condon. They need somebody to step up as the closer. Number 3, I have Arizona. Huge win for Arizona without Koa Pete at Houston. Can't say enough about it. What a win for Arizona. They have some really good guard play. They have a guy off the bench. I'm forgetting his name again. White guy. He went off today. I bet on Houston. He tore my heart out. What a win for Arizona. Michigan 2, Duke 1. I think these are the 2 best teams in the country. And Michigan, I'm not dropping them that much because they lost to the best player in the country, Cam Boozer, and they had a bad shooting day. Like, they were getting open looks against the best defense in the country. So for those reasons, I'm not putting Duke that far away. I don't think Duke is that far off at all, or Michigan's that far off. They shouldn't drop that far at all. That'll do it for today's episode. I just realized on this back half of it, I hit that like and subscribe button for college basketball, football content all the time on YouTube.